Good morning and welcome to another episode of Clark and Addison, Born into the Ivy. I'm your host, David Butler, and it has been another awesome week in Chicago Cubs fandom. The Cubs have extended their NL Central lead and have gone 4-2 since we last talked. Spoiler alert, that includes a 4-1 start against the NL Central. They are 21-13, 8 games above 500. In today's episode, we will talk about some recaps from the past 6 games, some series previews for this next week, the third base problem, and can this starting rotation continue to succeed? Remember, the best way to help grow the podcast is to listen to every episode, like the episode, share the episode with your friends, and if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. For the recaps, last Sunday, the game was a pitcher's duel between Jameson Taillon and Aaron Nola on Sunday Night Baseball. Both pitched beautifully, and both bullpens didn't allow a run until extra innings either. This is eerily familiar from the previous Sunday. Both Porter Hodge and Ryan Presley did a great job in relief in the 8th and 9th, but then Julian Merriweather struggled with his command and walked 3 batters and gave up a hit. This especially hurts when the inning starts with a ghost runner. David Cohn from Sunday Night Baseball made an interesting point on the Sunday night broadcast that I liked. He noted that a lot of pitchers seem to press more with the ghost runner, trying to be too perfect, and this causes them to struggle with their command. They need to come in and just pitch their game, and if they allow a run, so be it. They should be able to count on their team getting that run back at the very least, as they are in the same predicament as well. I don't really think there's something to this, but the Cubs have lost 13 games this season, and 4 of them have come on a Sunday. The Cubs are currently 1-4 on Sundays. Monday they had an off day. Then on Tuesday they started a 3-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. The start of the series in Pittsburgh got off to a nice start, as the Cubs shut down the Buccos 9-0 and exploded once again offensively. Shota Imanaga pitched well in his innings, but left with leg cramps. This doesn't seem to be anything major, as he is slated to pitch again today on May 4th. Carson Kelly, PCA, Seiya Suzuki, and Dansby Swanson all homered for the Cubs, as the offense ruled. On Wednesday, in a game that the Cubs should have won, and looking at the box score, you might think that the bullpen gave up another lead. But this was much more on poor defense, and specifically at third base, and the black hole that lives there ever since Chris Bryant was traded. Matthew Boyd pitched well enough to win, and so did the bullpen really. If John Birdie, who overall has done well, makes a rather routine play, then the Cubs likely, in my opinion, don't lose the game to the Pirates. The offense got stymied, but they did score 3 runs, and you can't win every game by scoring 6 or more runs. We have to be able to win some 3-2 or 2-1 games. On Thursday, Colin Ray against Paul Skeens. Colin Ray gave up the most runs scored on him this season, a grand total of 2. That's how awesome he's been, folks. Ray went 6 innings, his season high, and kept the Pirates' offense off balance. The only true mistake he made during the day was a first-inning home run to Brian Reynolds, who has hit Ray well historically. The Cubs hit 3 home runs off of Skeens in the 5th inning and pushed him out of the game. That was his last inning. Skeens only struck out 2, which was a career low for him. Then they tacked on 5 more runs to Pittsburgh 1 more run and won the game 8-3 to take the series, heading to Milwaukee with a 2-1 series win over the Bucks. On Friday, the Cubs offense once again got out to a hot start with 2 runs in the first and 7 more in the second. Michael Busch hit a grand slam and PCA with 2 solo shots, 1 in the 5th and 1 later on in the game. Or 1 in the second, and 1 later on in the game. The first 2 runs, though, were all the Cubs needed, as Ben Brown pounded the strike zone for the majority of the evening and shut down the Brewers with 6 innings of 4 hits, and most importantly, not walking anyone. He was far more efficient with 74 pitches through 6 innings. On Saturday, the Cubs were facing the former Chicago Cub, Jose Quintana, who had been pitching quite well as he came into the game 4-0 through 4 starts and owned a 1.14 ERA for the Milwaukee Brewers. When he left the game, he was in line to get his first loss of the season, and his ERA had ballooned up to 2.83. While still a very good ERA through 5 starts, the Cubs scored 6 against him, 5 of the runs coming in the 4th and 5th innings. PCA hit a 3-run homer in the 4th to break the game open and give the Cubs back the lead for good, and Swanson and Tucker both hit solo shots in the 5th. Jameson Taillon once again quietly pitched a very good game, going 6 innings of 3-hit baseball while walking only 1, as the Cubs win 6-2. Previews for this upcoming week: the San Francisco Giants are coming in on Monday. They will have a 3-game set. They come into the series averaging 4.5 runs a game, which is good for 11th in the majors. They tick this up by about a half a run, averaging 5 runs a game on the road. The Giants also have a team ERA of 3.48, but on the road, that goes up, though, at 4.13. The Cubs' offense will need to be sharp during this series. We still do not have probable starters for this series, though. Then on next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Cubs will travel to New York to play the New York Mets. The Mets are currently averaging 4.82 runs a game this season, which is 9th in the majors. At home, this drops to 4.25 runs a game. But none of that matters when the pitching staff has an ERA of 2.69, which is a league best, and a home ERA that's even tougher at 2.3. This will be an important test for the Cubs offense in that series. Overall, I would expect the Cubs should at the very least go 3-3 during this week, but have a very good chance at 4-2. 2-1 against the Giants specifically should be the expectation. Key Cubs offensive players. I haven't talked too much, gotten a whole lot of in depth, so I wanted to go through some of these guys and talk about who the key guys are. I think a lot of us know who they are, but it'll be fun to hear some of the stats. Kyle Tucker has an OPS at a staggering 965 with a WRC plus of 164, which is 64 points above average. His OPS sits 12th amongst players with at least 50 at-bats so far this season. He sits 4th among right fielders with at least 50 at-bats, with only Aaron Judge, Fernando Tatis Jr., and George Springer above him. I'm going to talk about more OPSs throughout this, and it's all with 50 at-bats or more in the rankings. Carson Kelly continues to crush the baseball with an OPS of 1.320. Holy cow. Among players with at least 50 at-bats, this is tops in the majors, even over Aaron Judge. He has an WRC plus of 252, which is far and away over his best season of 107. Is this sustainable? I'd be absolutely shocked, but it's been fun to watch for sure. His walk rate is an absurd 22.4%, which should tell you just how well he is seeing the baseball right now. For now, let's just enjoy this. Seiya Suzuki is currently 19th in OPS as well, with a 935 and a WRC plus of 157. I think this might come as a bit of a surprise to some fans because Seiya is hot one game and then cold the next. He has been a huge contributor this season, though. Michael Busch sits as the player with a 35th highest OPS in all of baseball with an 886 and 4th in first baseman. He has made quite a leap his sophomore season and is as locked in as he's ever been as a Cub. Then we've got PCA, who is emerging before us as a star, and dare I say it, a superstar possibly. P. Crow Armstrong has an OPS that sits at 871, which is 3rd in center field, 41st overall. He is 4th in stolen bases, tied with a plethora of players for 6th in home runs, including 2 teammates, 7th in runs scored, 11th in RBIs, 11th in doubles, and his defensive score is 6.3, which is 2nd in all of baseball, behind only Patrick Bailey. His WAR, wins above replacement, is 2.2, which is good for 4th overall in the majors. One player that there's been a lot of concern about is Dansby Swanson. He has moved down in the batting order this week by Craig Counsell and is now batting 8th. Since that has happened, Dansby is on a 5-game hitting streak and is 8 for 19 with 3 home runs and has a slash line of 421, 450, and an OPS of 1.345. Holy crap. He's crushing the ball now and continues to get better. That's only in 20 plate appearances and it's a small sample size. His season numbers still stink, to be honest. But his defense is so good, and if he could just provide average offensive numbers for the season, he will be just fine. And so will the Cubs. He doesn't have to be a huge offensive player in this offense. He just has to not be a liability. Folks, the Cubs offense currently has 5 players in the top 50 of OPS, which is absolutely crazy. The pitching is holding up well so far, but hopefully we can add some starters later on in the season to improve the overall quality of the pitching staff depth. I felt good about this coming into the season, but injuries to Justin Steele and Javier Assad, among others, has taken away from the depth. Specifically, though, Steele's injury takes away from the top of the rotation. Jameson Taillon, Matthew Boyd, and Colin Ray have all done a great job in their respective roles and stepping up to be bigger in their games. But we need to get 1, hopefully 2 starters who can lift up the ceilings on this pitching staff. If Jameson Taillon can end up going back to the 3, even if we were to really hit the jackpot and get somebody who's like ace and move Shota to 2, that's huge for the rest of the rotation. Taillon is pitching very, very well. He's very consistent. Colin Ray's been insanely good. Ben Brown has ups and downs, but when he's been up, he's been up. And I'm still a huge advocate for him going to the bullpen. But we've got to have somebody else to put in that spot. Notable players in the minors and who to watch. Moises Ballesteros. The dude is hitting the cover off the baseball. He has a slash line of 391, 443, and 582, an OPS of 1.024 and 122 plate appearances. He is crushing the ball. It's too bad he can't play third base. But it seems clear that he is ready for the majors when there's an opportunity. Matt Shaw has improved his numbers at AAA, but his ISO is still not where it was last year. His slash line of 302, 455, and 442 gives an OPS of 896 and 55 plate appearances at AAA. He is walking at a 20% rate, which seems awfully high. Hopefully that he can sustain that. That would be amazing. But I think that inflates that on base percentage and then consequently the OPS. Hopefully he can continue to get improvement and make the necessary adjustments and fill this third base black hole the Cubs seem to have. Nicky Lopez played pretty good the other day. John Birdie, I think, is overall best suited, at least on a good team, as a bench player who can play multiple different positions. Expecting him to be able to consistently play a position day in and day out appears to be a little much because when he's doing that, he makes some plays that you just don't expect from John Birdie. He normally provides good defense. So I think being able to put him back in that role would hopefully make him a little more comfortable. So the third base has just been a huge issue for the Cubs. And we've got to get it figured out, either via Matt Shaw, which I think is everybody's overall preference. But if that's not working out later on in the season, then we need to trade for somebody. Cade Horton, in 5 starts, has pitched 23 innings with an ERA of 1.17, but an expected FIP of 4.03. His walk rate is still high at 4.7 per 9 innings and a 14% clip. If he can get that command in order, he would be a huge asset later on in the year. Be it the bullpen, be it the starting rotation, I don't know. But I think he's getting closer and closer to being ready for majors. I talked about this again before, but I'm going to reiterate. PCA and Kyle Tucker, and the impact that those two are having. Kyle Tucker in the 2 or 3 hole, settling everybody else down. Nobody else has to be like a superhero or anything like that. I think it's partly enabled PCA to just go out and play. He doesn't feel the pressure, and we're seeing what happens when PCA doesn't have to overthink things, and same with Seiya Suzuki for that matter. Seiya last year was probably the best bat on the Cubs team, and now he's not. I would say he's the 3rd best bat. And that's no slouch against him by any means because he is hitting well. But Kyle Tucker just puts everybody down a peg as far as in the how well they have to be, and he's so good. We have got to find a way to extend this guy, or at least make every effort to do so. If he wants to test free agency, there's nothing we can do about that. But we need to make every possible take every possible shot we can to make this work and make him stay in a Chicago Cubs uniform. And hell, while we're at it, let's extend PCA before this guy gets even more expensive. 7 to 8 years, $100 million. I don't see why he wouldn't take that. 10 or 8, 9, 10 years at $50 million a year for Kyle Tucker. Well worth it. Well worth it if you market it all right. And if the Cubs aren't doing that, the Cubs brass, that's their damn fault. We as fans need this to happen, and we need to make sure everybody knows that. Thank you for catching this episode of Clark and Addison Born into the Ivy. Don't forget to join our Facebook group. Leave some posts or comments in there about what you'd like to hear or what you thought about today's episode. However you subscribe to your podcast, please like and subscribe to Clark and Addison Born into the Ivy so that you don't miss out on any of our future episodes. Also, if you feel so inclined, please make sure to leave a 5-star review and leave some comments. If you are enjoying this podcast, like it and tell and share it with all your friends and family who might be Cubs fans or just a baseball fan. Have a great day, and let's go Cubs. Paisley, send them home.
Go Cubs, go!
Living on the water, counting bases last summer.